Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Soul Seekers podcast, where we believe that hunting has the power to transform lives through primal adventure as we share our mission of mentorship is conservation. To learn more about everything we do, check out our show on Carbon TV or go to soulseekersnation.com. Freedom on, everybody, and stay soulful. If you want to take your shooting experience to the next level, then check out Coltac gear for 100% made in America products. Coltac manufactures specialty gear designed for long-range shooting, hunting, and other tactical applications. From their support bags, suppressor covers, shooting mats, and a whole lot more, Coltac is creating tough, durable, and innovative gear for both civilian and professional markets. Go to coltac.com to see all that they have to offer. That's cole-tac.com. If you are looking to get a new rifle or build your own, look no further than Kelbley's. Kelbley's actions and rifles have a higher level of accuracy and hold 92 world records set on either one of their rifles or rifle actions. Whether you're looking for an ultralight mountain rifle or wanting to compete in precision rifle shooting, Kelbley's has you covered. Go to kelbley.com to find out more or give them a call as their customer service is the best. That's KELBLY.com. Kelbley's. If you're looking to take your hunting to another level, there's no better way to do it than by subscribing to onX Hunt. If you want to get better at hunting and go deeper into your scouting, onX is the #1 GPS app for that. Join the millions of hunters who trust onX Hunt to find more game, discover new access, and hunt smarter. If you want to know more about onX, go to onxmaps.com/hunt or download their app today for a free trial. If you are wanting to become more accurate and deadly with your shooting, one of the best things you can do is upgrade your trigger with a Timney. Timney triggers are 100% made in America and have been since their founding, providing a crisp, reliable, and repeatable trigger break every time. I'll be shooting Timney triggers in my guns this year, and I hope you'll join me in shooting the world's finest trigger. Go to timneytriggers.com to get yours today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Soul Seekers podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Mack. Today's episode is one right before Christmas, and as we are settling in for the long winter and hunting seasons come to an end, and we're starting to look forward to next year, 2026, and everything that's going on in our lives, we've got to remember to be grateful. And today's episode is with Derek Depew. He's a police officer out of the state of Illinois, a pistol and rifle instructor, and a tactical games operator. He's an awesome human being, and he has been somebody who I've been watching on social media and following along with his journey for quite some time and been inspired with his authenticity, his humbleness, and his willingness to address himself and the internal struggle that we all always battle each and every day. Hopefully out of this podcast, you find something inspiring, find something that you can relate to, and find something that makes you want to sharpen your edge, sharpen your sword, and remember to love yourself and love others. So without further ado, today's guest, Derek, brother, thanks for being on the show, man. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. I'm honored to be here.
Dude, it's great to have you be a part of Soul Seekers Nation, man. You are finally in it after a couple years of wanting to get you on the show. Life happens, things happen, and then, here we are having a glass of bourbon all together and enjoying it.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
So, yeah, make sure you take a sip after you raise your glass. So, brother, you have had quite an inspiring and challenging and interesting story over the years since you and I met. That was probably like back in maybe 2020, 2019. I think back when you started Mountain Hunter Box and got connected on Instagram and just like following each other. To your journey within your police force and how that's impacted your life and how you view things and all that. So before we really dive into that, just what's your history when it comes to hunting, firearms, and overall outdoor lifestyle?
Sure. Well, I started at a very young age. As a kid, I had BB guns and all that stuff, and I had a longbow. I remember it was a Fred Bear red longbow that I would shoot in the backyard. My dad was a relentless. When hunting season came around, he put himself on 3 to 11s, and all he did was hunt. So he would ghost for a few months, but in the summertime leading up, he'd spend days standing on the railing on the back porch, so he was high enough to mimic his shots being out of tree stand. And I would just get out there anytime I saw him. I'd run out there with my bow and I'd go shoot with him. Um, the and as a kid, I remember I would just for hours go out there and shoot my BB gun at cans, or even got to a point where I was shooting cherry tomatoes off logs, and that was just my thing, man. I just really enjoyed it.
Was that something that, like, your dad gave you a BB gun for Christmas, or something that you're like, "Okay, I see him do it. This is what I wanna do," or do you find, like, just a part of being a young boy in America, like, that natural calling, like, you're meant to go outside and figure things out?
Yeah, of course. I'm I grew up in the '80s, and it was pretty much from the moment I woke up. Once I got breakfast down, I was out the door. So I was out, and I was fortunate enough where I grew up in kind of a rough neighborhood. My The block that I lived on had a massive field in the backyard.
Mhm.
So I used that for exploring and all kinds of stuff. And as I got older, we played football out there with the neighborhood kids. But just being outdoors, watching him go all the time. And the good thing was is he was very good about when he would go scout in the summertime or in the late summer.
Mhm.
He would always bring me along.
Yeah.
So and I would get bummed the days that he wanted to take my sister instead of me, instead because he never wanted to take both of us. I guess it was too much of a headache, but he would take either one of us, and it. So I always had that urge to just go, and I
Yeah.
did. I got my BB gun for Christmas. I got my first bow for Christmas. I remember, but I remember he wouldn't let me hunt, and he told me he said, "When you turn 10 years old, I'll take you." He said, and I don't exactly remember why, what the line with 10 years old was, but I think he felt like it's old enough to where firearm safety was a big thing,
Mhm.
and especially with a shotgun, I just think he wanted me to be able to manage things for the most part on my own.
Yeah. What state did you grow up in? Indiana?
Indiana.
Yeah. What's really interesting is being a kid that grew up in the Pacific Northwest, state of Washington, and the idea of, like, public lands and wide open spaces and the ability to shoot center fire rifles is, even as an adult, I'm still constantly being like, "Oh, wow, some states don't have full on rifle seasons. They're only allowed to shoot shotguns," or that still blows my mind. Is it?
We just got a rifle. I would say within the last 5 to 10 years, we got a rifle season. So growing up, it was archery, muzzleloader, and shotgun, and that was or archery, shotgun, then muzzleloader. But it, there was no rifle season.
Yeah. Oh man. So you were raised by a hunter, so that was naturally ingrained in you. At what point did you say, "Okay, this is what I want to do with my life. Like, this is the lifestyle I want to step into," or was it just second nature and you never actually had that conscious decision of choosing into something?
I think you know. I just remember, like I said, my dad had a lot of trauma growing up, so he didn't get close to people. Him and I, we didn't have common ground outside of hunting. He had his own struggles and things that he had to deal with, right? And you know, I understand now as an adult why he was the way he was.
Hmm.
But we always had commonality with the outdoors. It didn't matter what it was. If something came on TV, we could talk about it. Um, Otherwise, he was just too busy. He was just too busy. I'm too busy. I got in baseball we would play catch, but it was like I had to. It was a chore. I would have to ask him 100 times and finally, okay, let's go. Whereas hunting was just effortless.
Mm.
And we found that common ground. So I just remember when he would come home after hunting all day. As soon as I saw it, I would sit and wait in the window for his headlights to hit the driveway so I could run out to see if he killed a deer or if he got a load of ducks or whatever it was. So that's kind of how it just kind of molded me into that direction.
Hmm. Yeah. What's hunting like in Indiana as far as the acceptance of it publicly?
I think it's like it's really not a conversation that's had too often. Maybe it's not had around me because my family's so ingrained in hunting.
Hmm.
But we'll get the occasional, like even now, I have a bunch of mounts all over my house, and my wife's friends from the school. She works in the school. will come by, and they don't say much, but she tells me when they're at school, they're like, "How do you live in a house with all those dead animals?" And she's like, "Oh, you get used to it. It's my well." And her father, she grew up in a house. Her father hunted. He
Hmm.
still hunts, but for the most part, it's pretty accepted. We're very um, like our gun rights are so laxed in this state, and so hunting is just naturally. We have within an hour drive. There's four uh, wildlife game preserve, like game public land
Hmm.
tracts that you can go hunt, and they're only maybe one's 5,000 acres, one's 3,000 acres. They're not massive, but they're big enough, and they're all pretty close by. And for the most part, the southern half of this state is just full with hunting. Like that's like people take off school for hunting. Like it's pretty big in this state. So
Yeah, yeah. You know, it was one of my big shocks when I moved to Texas from the state of Washington when um, you you learn that like people live off of venison,
yeah,
right? Like I'm getting my haircut, and the ladies in the barber shop are talking about, oh yeah, my boyfriend or my husband just shot a couple deer, and and how are they cooking it? And I'm like, dude, this is a great conversation that's not had where I'm from. And so the lifestyles across the nation, that's one of the things that I've come to learn in my older age is we have everything is so relative, and we view the world, and I really do mean we, as in the collective, all of us, humanity views the world in such a small way,
yeah,
right? Like
agree.
this is how everyone thinks because this is what my little community thinks.
Correct,
And it
correct. It's a culture shock when you step out of that.
yes. Yeah, and it's not just about hunting, it's, politics, religion, like, when being, raised a Christian in America, we always hear or read these Bible stories and assume, like, it's talking about, us in North America, and it's like, "Okay, well, you know, what do these countries all around the world think?" And this is when it really got me diving into different types of religions and, like,
Yeah,
there's gotta be something that draws people to these other things. Is it really fascinating, you know?
yeah, 100%.
So, what I love about you, Derek, and we're gonna get into this, is your view and your ability to self-reflect. And one of the things that I always talk about on this podcast is that hunting has the power to transform lives through primal adventure. The primal adventure of going into the unknown, not knowing what outcome's gonna be, challenging yourself, grit, courage, determination, fortitude. And whether you're sitting in a tree stand in the back 40 or you're out west in public lands, there's always something to really sharpen yourself. Now, you can take hunting and apply it however you want, right? Like if you want it to be super simple and easy and not that impactful on your soul, then you can create those opportunities where it's more just like, yeah, I hunt, right? Or
Yeah,
it can be the full on lifestyle of like, no, I hunt and we do this and we provide and we take care of. And were you raised to be a reflective individual, or at what point did you have this aha moment of like, dude, there's something more to life than what I've just been experiencing and living?
um so aha moment. I didn't grow up that way, right? Honestly, even up into my 20s, I was very, very what do you call I can't think of the word. I'm very outspoken, very outgoing, very loud, very boisterous, very fun times. I was just that guy.
Hmm.
Um, I was who I was, and I loved who I was, and I knew who I was.
Yeah.
So I don't know that at any point I took time to reflect on who I was
Hmm.
and what my struggles were. I didn't In my mind, I just push them down. I'm gonna keep going. I don't care about that stuff. But then, that stuff, if you don't deal with that, it resurfaces and it will continue to do so.
Yeah. Yeah, the reflective nature, what hunting provides, right? Like, how often do you actually get to just be by yourself without distraction and sit alone in your thoughts? That's one of the things that I really have come to grow into since becoming a hunter. Is like I was afraid to be by myself. I
Yeah,
didn't. I
that's
don't.
the struggle
Yes.
because you're by yourself with your own thoughts, and that's scary.
Yeah.
And the outdoors, that is what it is for me now. It is my solace. I get out there and the world goes quiet.
Hmm.
And then I see the world for what it is, not for what the perception is on what I see. And again, going back to that small circle you were talking about, what I see and what I know the world to be in my small circle, it is not the same as what it is when I'm hunting.
Hmm.
And so being in the woods now, as a kid, it was just I want to be out hunting because my dad hunts and I know he loves it and now I love it and we spend time together. Where that's still a major part of what I do. All the decisions I make for hunting, I do so with him in mind, right? But more so, what keeps me going outdoors and what keeps me trying these new adventures is when I'm out there, it's the greatest place that I can ever be.
Yeah.
And I feel it like deep in my soul that this is where I'm meant to be, right? And if I could be there all day, every day, I would be.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're a mountain man trapped in modern society?
I do. I truly do. Because when I'm there, what's funny is a lot of times I'll go and there's some guys that I hunt with. They're not complainers. They're all good people. But by the end of, so we usually go for a 14-day stretch, and then it's just in time for whitetail season to start by the time we get back. So it's just a roll right in the next, and you can tell by the end of the 14 days, a lot of times those guys are like they're just ready to be done.
Yeah.
And while I may be ready to be done waking up at 3 a.m. every morning to hit the mountain and take off for 5 miles, I'm not ready to be done to go back into civilization and the hustle and bustle of everything and
Hmm.
electronics and all the nonsense.
Yeah. Your Instagram account's called Living with the Beast.
Yep.
What does that mean?
So we all have that voice in our head.
Yeah.
And that voice in my head is an absolute terrifying monster. And so I spent many years when I was going through my hurdles trying to fight that monster instead of accepting that it's there and learning to navigate life in a way where you're conscious it's there, right? Because if I'm conscious it's there and I know it's there, then I can work through the hurdles that I have in front of me because I'm not blindsided by it.
Hmm.
So I wanted to, I changed my whole Instagram account and I started doing videos of myself working out and just my thoughts and how, what the things I was thinking when I'd be mid set. We're done. We're tired. We're not. This is bullshit. What are we doing? You don't need to be here. We're not running. We're not lifting this weight. You've already done 8. That's good enough. You go in there and I think, oh, I'm going to run 3 miles to start, and then you get a half mile. And you're like, fuck this. I'm only running a mile. When in reality, shut that shit off and move forward.
Yeah.
And so while that was part of what was in my head, there was a lot of other dark things going on. And I just thought, if I share this, it shows other people that they're not alone in this.
Hmm.
And I had over the through the times when I was going through the hurdles that I was going through, I had friends take their lives, right? And I seen that it was becoming more and more of a plague. And so I actually had a stranger reach out to me one day. And it was just a message. And he said, "Can I call you please?" And my Instagram messenger or my Facebook messenger was blowing up. It was a phone call after phone call. And I don't know this number and I don't know this guy. He's like, "Please answer, please answer." So I pick up the phone and this guy is in tears, like he's sobbing that he's going to kill himself. And He goes on to tell me about his disabled child that he can no longer care for. He lost his job. He can't take care of his house. They're going to lose their house. They have nothing. They like he's this dude's in a like dark hole.
Mhm.
And I just let him vent, and I let him talk, and I let him go. And he's like, and I don't know what to do. And the thing is that we're in those moments. We don't hear what we're saying, but he's telling me the options that he has, but it's not clicking in his own brain that this is what he has and things that he has available. So I just told him, I said, let me ask you something. If you could take one step in the right direction right now,
Mhm.
what could you do right now to give you just enough to make one more step? He's like, well, there was a position at the school and the lady said she'd like me to apply. I said, no, 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 that's extensive. That's good. But right now, what could you do to move forward so we don't move backwards? I said, because here's the reality, while you're struggling right now, if you go ahead and do what you're planning on doing, those struggles now tenfold and are added to your disabled child and added to your wife.
Mhm.
I said, and you don't see that right now because you just think they're better off without me. I'm ruining everything and I can't take care of them. When in reality, when you go, all those things now pile on them
Yeah.
and they're left to now sort through that, which you are struggling to sort through now. So you can either step up and start working towards a solution. Now, mind you, this took you how long to get buried into this and get you in this position that you're in? It's not going to happen by tomorrow. Tomorrow things aren't going to be better. But we can take a step in our lives, one step to get better.
Mhm.
And then that one step, you'll see the next step. And then you take that next step.
Mhm.
And you continue to do so, and those steps compound. And before you know it, you'll turn around, look back, and you'll be like, wow, I've come so far. Things are going great. And then it happened. He calls me 6 months, almost, it was like 6 or 7 months later. He calls me. He said, I just want to thank you. He's like, you saved my life. And I've got a new job. I'm at the school. I got this. Things are going great. I got this. I got that. And it was just awesome. And it just solidified me to continue sharing my struggles and what I deal with internally.
Yeah.
Because if just helping that one man, if that's all I've ever done, that's good enough for me.
Yeah. That's your purpose on this earth, right? Is
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. What I mean, and I don't want to go any more personal than what you're willing to share,
Sure.
but I'm assuming that you've also had those moments that
Yeah.
we're coming
100%.
to the give up moment,
Yep. Yeah.
and not necessarily give up, but I guess check out, right? Like, hey, checking out might be the best option for my family, or
It was the
for
only option.
yeah. I've also experienced that as well, and so I can talk about that as well, and I'd love to hear what it was that got you to the point of I'm not giving up. I'm not checking out,
Sure.
right?
Um, so it started, so we'll go back to when I started Mountain Hunter Box. Okay. Mount, I was injured on the job. A guy stole a car with kids in it. And I found the car, fight with the guy. I end up during the time fighting with this guy, trying to gain control of the vehicle and him and get the kids out safely. I tear my bicep, my shoulder. I had to get 5 screws in my shoulder and 2 pins in my bicep to reattach it. And I
Hmm.
went through therapy. Well, while I was down with that, I'm like, well, this isn't going to define me. I'm going to start something. And that's when I founded Mountain Hunter Box. I was on the couch. I knew nothing about business. I didn't even have a computer. I did it from my phone.
Yeah,
I
sweet.
started an online subscription business. So I start googling everything. I'm like things I could do from home, and I see this thing, and I start building this business. Right. So I call my wife. I've got a whole notebook full of notes and things that I'm going to do, and she says, "Yeah, okay, whatever." I said, "No, I'm going to start this business." And she's like, "Yeah, whatever." I don't think she realized it was going to turn into semi trucks dumping pallets of product into my driveway, but that's what it became.
Yeah.
Right. And so it started there. I went through therapy. It was about 8 months I was out of work and I got back to work. And a year to the date, I I got I got run over at work. Okay, some package thieves. I caught them, and while I'm trying to myself and another officer that was on scene as my supervisor at the time, trying to get her out of the car. She was in the driver's seat. She decides to put it in drive. Well, I was around the front of the vehicle. So I take off running and I make it through 2 yards and she runs me over. So she
Mm.
was trying to get me, right? So she runs me over. I lose consciousness for a second, for a few minutes. They get me back. I go to the hospital. They end up catching her. She tried to jump off a bridge. They caught her. Um, but that's when everything started to turn for me. I've growing up, I don't take meds. I still to this day I don't take things like that. I don't take pills. I never did. Even the worst surgeries, having teeth pulled, no Novocaine. I don't like drugs, and it doesn't come from anything in my past. I just don't care for them. I don't like
Mhm.
the way I feel when I take them, and I just would rather not. Well, this injury was pretty rough. The vehicle struck my hip on the right side, and it ran over my hips. When I hit the ground, the vehicle ran over my hips and my legs. And so they put me on this stretcher. They bring me in, and I get to the hospital. I said, I have to call my wife. So I'm there. I'm laying on this board with a seat collar on. I pick up the phone and I said, Hey, babe, don't freak out. I'm at the hospital. I was run over, and my phone dies.
Oh.
That, yeah. So you can imagine she's flipping her lid, and I'm like, Oh my God, my wife's going to kill me. So they end up getting a hold of her and everything else. So during that time, they tell me I'm never going to walk. They say you're going to walk again, but you'll never run again.
Mhm.
You can just pretty much kiss your career goodbye. Um, but we're going to work on getting you back as good as we can with what we have to
Yeah.
work with.
Yeah.
And so, just to preface for the audience who aren't in law enforcement or don't understand, it is what when you get into law enforcement, it is who you are, and it's not who you are when you enter it. It's that's what you become because you have to live life like you live in a glass house. And there are so many things about who you were that change, not because you're trying to be somebody better than everybody, but because you have to live to a moral standard that's much higher than everybody else lives. You have to. If you want to do the job and you want to have integrity and you want to do things properly, you have to live that way.
Mm.
So you become this person, somebody who you never were.
Yeah.
And it's not like, okay, I'm this person. It just happens over time. So I that's who I am. When people ask me you know, describe yourself. Well, I'm a police officer. Like it's always that way. And they're like, no, I didn't ask you what you do. I asked you who you are, and that's who I am. So when they tell me that, and mind you, I graduated in '99. I spent from '99 to 2005 trying to get hired somewhere, and then I spent another 3 years applying and applying, applying, and countless states, countless agencies. And back then, everybody wanted to be a cop, so it was difficult. All
Yeah, it
right,
was
it
after
was
9/11 and,
yes,
like
yeah.
yeah.
So you'd go to a hiring process, and there's 300 people for 2 spots. It was tough, and if you didn't know anybody, it was if you didn't stand out like stellar, you could forget it. And my degree wasn't in law; it was in conservation law, so I was going to be a conservation officer. That's a whole nother story. Wild ride. So anyway, so I start rehab. No, I'm sorry. I go in, I have my surgery on my ankle and my foot. So I tore the tendon that's underneath your Achilles tendon, and I ruptured tendons in my foot, and I had some other things. Oh, and I broke the ball that your leg bone sits on that's in your ankle. I fractured that as well.
Oh, wow.
So there were multiple surgeries had on my leg, and I remember going in for my post op, my 7th day or 14th day or whatever it was post op, and they take my all the bandaging and wrap off my leg. And now, mind you, this point I've just sat on the couch popping pills and icing. That's all I can do, right? I'm stuck.
Mhm.
And I remember the nurse telling me, she's putting on the brakes after I saw the doctor, and she cinches this thing down. I'm like, "Yo, I got all these stitches. I just had surgery. What do you do?" She goes, "Oh, you can't hurt that." And I looked at her, and said, "You shouldn't have told me that." And she goes, "Why?" I said, "Because now I'm going to push the limits and I'm going to end up hurting myself." She goes, "No, I'm telling you, you can't hurt it." I said, "Okay." And this was in February, and there was snow on the ground. We had like a foot of snow in the driveway. Like I couldn't shovel. My neighbors helped when they could, but you know. But what I learned in this is that nobody gives a shit about you, right? And I don't mean that like your family doesn't love you. I don't mean that like that, but I mean like the people that you try so hard to impress, like your bosses and your coworkers and the other people in your store, they don't give a shit about you. They
Yeah.
don't care.
Life goes on.
Yes. The minute that I was disconnected, it was like, okay, oh man, this sucks, dude. Sorry, we're back on it. Right. And during that time period, I never received a phone call from admin. I never received a text message from admin checking on me. Nobody ever called me. A couple of guys threw some gift cards together for me and would check on me here and there. But as far as like the bosses and the admin, the guys that are supposed to care about their guys, the leader, quote, leaders, nothing, crickets.
Hmm.
Not one phone call, not one time to check on me. So then you start reflecting, like, what the fuck? Nobody gives a shit, right?
Yeah. You put your heart and soul into something, and that the minute you're not there, you're forgotten about. Right?
Correct.
Well, then what am I striving for?
Right.
Yeah.
So I get home and I said, all right, I'm going to show these guys I'm going to run again. This is going to happen. So I literally started 75 hard that day.
Hmm.
And that's 2 workouts a day. You read a book a day. You uh, drink a gallon of water a day. And there's all kinds of things that you have to do throughout each day. And you take a picture and you go through this for 75 days straight. And you have to stick to a strict diet. And so I started that day and I couldn't lift weights, but I could walk. And one of the workouts has to be an outdoor workout. So for both workouts, I would go and hobble up and down my driveway for 45 minutes in the snow and ice. It was so unstable. I could barely even walk as it was. I just got rid of the crutches and I just kept going back and forth, back and forth, back. It the blizzard, the rain. I think it was piss and rain,
Hmm.
whatever happened. I was out there and I made sure I did it because, and I'm going to go back because I skipped where things got really dark. I was sitting on the couch and back to popping pills and things. And, I'm sitting here alone. There's nobody here. My wife's at work. My son's at work. And I literally just started really coming down on myself hard. Like
Hmm.
I can't provide for my family anymore. I can't work. What good am I?
Yeah.
And it just kept compounding, kept compounding, kept compounding. And I remember one day they left for work. My wife left for work. She dropped him off at school. She kissed me goodbye and she left. And I got up and I crutched myself into the bedroom and I grabbed my pistol and I was in tears. And I said, ooh, sorry. I just said, hey, I just need to sign something so I know I'm supposed to be here. And I just remember hearing my son's voice, Daddy, will you play with me? And that was enough to do it, man.
Yeah.
Set, I set my gun back down on the nightstand and I left the bedroom. And, I went through and I just went back to the couch and I just sat and I cried. And then later on that day, my family came home and it was like business as usual, everything's fine, nothing happened, whatever. And I said, okay, I have to make this work. I have to get back. I have to get back not only for me, I have to get back. During that time, there was an officer in a local police department by me who was 2 years on the job and he was shot and career ended and mentally disabled. I mean, it ended him, right? But he survived. And I said, if not for me, I have to do it for guys like him who can't get back. who would give anything in the world to be back to what they were doing,
Yeah.
but can't.
Yeah.
So I just started working, and that's how that when she told me that my I couldn't hurt that, that's when that started, and I said I have to do this. And so that's when I went through 75 hard. I completed it first time through, no bullshit, no cheating, no. I just stay focused.
Uh-huh.
It gave me a lot of clarity. Um, do I think it's something that people should do just to lose weight? No, but mentally, it helped me get clear on a lot of things. And so I end up going to my first therapy appointment like 3 or 4 months later when they start my therapy. And I walked in there without crutches, without a brace, and I walked in there normally. And this guy, therapist, I remember he looks, grabs a clipboard. He goes, "Are you here for the whatever my injuries were therapy?" And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Huh, it doesn't even look like you're injured." And I said, "Well, I've been putting in a lot of work."
Wow.
And he's like, "I, I can tell." And so he said, "We're going to start you a little further along, and we're going to move forward from here." And so from there, I during that time, I get through that, and then from the time that I'm released, which is like January-ish, then like a year and a half later, because I think of the injury was around all these things happen around the beginning of December, end of November, beginning of December, and so I was finishing up. I got back to work in like I think it was ended up being February. I got back to work. The following November, I'm in training. I take a hard fall. Um, it was a night training. There was a pavement transition I didn't see. I took a hard fall and I tried to roll through it and to stand back up. And when I did, I came down hard on my right shoulder. I had AC separation of my clavicle.
Mm.
And I remember getting in the car with my wife and I'm crying like a baby. And I said, "What the fuck is wrong with me? Like, why can't I get through this? Why can't why do I always get hurt? Why me? Back to this sorrow. It just keeps coming back,
Mhm.
keeps coming back, keeps coming back." And so 3 weeks later, while I'm dealing with this, uh, my son goes to school and it's a paint your face day. And he comes home and I think he was 5 at the time. And his face is swollen. And I said, "What's going on?" He's like, "What?" So I take a picture, I send it to my wife. I said, "I don't know what's going on here. Something's up." She's like, "Oh, maybe allergic reaction. Give him a Benadryl." Well, I'm like, "Okay." So I give him Benadryl, swelling goes down. So I'm like, "Yeah, maybe she's right. Don't think nothing else of it." So this was on a Thursday. Sunday, he goes to a birthday party and they're playing in one of the ball pits. They have fun, like the inflatable things, slides and stuff.
Mhm.
There's a ball pit. He gets hit in the head with this ball in the ball pit and he starts screaming bloody murder. The mom calls us and says, "Hey, you should come check this out." He got hit. So I'm at work and my wife says, "He got hit in the head with one of these plastic balls and he's got a big lump." And I'm thinking, a ball
What?
from a ball pit
Yeah.
is not going to give you a lump. I've whipped these things at friends and it doesn't do what I mean.
Right.
So I get home that night and he's got this just massive knot on the top of his head. I go, "What the fuck hit him? This isn't from no ball." So she takes him to urgent care. They give him some Benadryl again, and it goes out. And so they that night he's having a hard time falling asleep, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And this was hours later. She gave him another thing of Benadryl and some Tylenol, and he passes out. She wakes me up at like 4 in the morning, and she's hysterical. His face is fucking swollen.
Mm.
So we rush him to the emergency room, and they do some tests. And I don't know anything about like medical terminology. That's not my thing as far as like whatever. But the ER doctor comes in and says, "We're gonna run some tests. I have to call my friend at the oncology unit at Riley's Children's Hospital, which is our children's hospital in Indianapolis." And I'm thinking, "Oh, whatever. He's gonna get some advice from somebody. Cool." But my wife knew that means that's usually cancer, oncology, cancer.
Mhm.
So as we're sitting there, his face is getting worse and worse and more swollen. Comes back in. He says they want to see him, and they're going to take him by ambulance. And I'm like, what? And I was like, what's going on? He's like, well, I'm going to be honest with you. This is well beyond the scope of what I'm able to discuss, and I don't want to give you wrong information. I really don't know much about this, and I don't want to give you bad information. So just when you get to Riley's, they'll explain everything. I'm like, okay. So she comes back in and says, they can't be here till 9 o'clock tonight. I'm like, that's not going to work. I said, let me just drive him. I'll take him there now. She said, well, Riley's only accepts if new patients through ambulance, emergency service. I said, well, call him and see if they'll take him if I bring him, because I don't want to wait till 9 o'clock. Well, we end up getting there later anyway. And he was sitting there playing with his Lego blocks, and the doctor comes in. He says, do you know why you guys are here? And I said, I don't have a clue. Nobody said anything, you know. And he said, I'll never forget it. My kid was playing Legos, and it was like the Duplo ones, the big ones. And he had a stack of them, and he's trying to get him to stand up. And the doctor says he has a tumor on his brain, and it's cancer.
Wow.
And it's a rare tumor that we don't have a lot of experience with. And I just remember hearing those Legos crash, and he comes over and he says, he's crying, Daddy, am I going to die? And I'm like, oh my God. So he jumps in my lap, I give him a hug. And I'm like, no, no. Well, what I didn't know is that he had a conversation with a friend the day prior while he was in school about the kid's uncle who got cancer and passed away.
Oh man. Yeah.
And so, that was a struggle. We were there for a couple weeks. It ended up being not a cancer, but it was an infection that got, it's called a Puffy Potts tumor, that they don't know how it got there because it was up high on his skull. And it caused his skull to become porous, like a bunch of holes. And it ate through his skull to the first layer. Didn't make it to the brain, but it made it just to the layer that covers the brain.
Yeah. The meninges.
Yeah. So she says that I'm so thankful. Those nurses and doctors at the hospital are fantastic. She comes in, she says, listen, we're going to take him in for this CT scan. And when we do this, it's one of two things. If it's cancer, we're going to back out, and we're going to come see you guys. We're going to bring him out the anesthesia, and we're going to talk about plans, what the next steps will be, what your life's going to look like moving forward. And then if it's not, and it is this infection that we think it is, that it could be also, then, we're going to operate immediately. So we no sooner get down to the cafeteria to eat something, they put them under, and they take them in. So we're like, we're going to go eat while we're waiting. We get our food, we sit down, the phone rings, get up here now. So we race across the hospital, we get there, and she says, it's an infection, we have to operate now. We're going to remove part of his skull, we're going to put a metal mesh on his forehead, and, then we'll go from there.
Mm.
And so they do. And I just remember when the surgery was done, walked in that room, and he had from one ear, top of this, to the ear on the right side, the top of ear on the left side, like a moon cut over his head where they had to peel his face down. And he did not look like our child. We walked in there, and it was the most terrifying thing you could possibly think of.
Yeah.
And so I'll tell you what, man, this kid, he's my inspiration, man. This kid is tough.
Yeah.
He gets through all this, just great spirits the whole time. He had some issues afterwards, like some, well, he had to learn to walk again. We had to use a walking belt and get him to learn how to motor skills and things like that. But his biggest hurdles were mental, psychological hurdles, where just the smallest things would set him off. But thankfully, we caught them early,
Mm-hmm.
and we got him the help that he needed, so that he could then finish. He could go on with his life and not have to worry about those things. Now he still has fears. He still has things, but he's like a regular kid now. Nobody could tell. He plays
Yeah.
hockey. He's just so. I heal up from my injury. He heals up from his injury, and we're back to the races. And you know, I do remember while we were laying in the hospital, and he was laying in the bed next to me. My wife's laying there, and I just remember the helicopters just kept coming in one after another after another. after another, and I couldn't figure out what's going on. So the nurse came in. I said, "What's going on with all these helicopters landing?" She's like, "Well, these are life flight kids, and they're coming in solo because we're not allowed to have parents on the helicopters." And so I remember not knowing, what the outcome was going to be overnight for my son, because they couldn't tell me anything, thinking that I was just thankful for that night, and I was thankful for that moment, that, while this is hell,
Hmm.
I have my son next to me right now.
Yeah.
And if I want to hug him, I can. And so I had to learn that in the deepest, darkest hole, find something small that you can grab a hold of that will give you hope, or that will give you happiness. And that's what that was for me. I just knew that my wife was there and my son were there, and we were together. Not the best situation, but we were together and he was there. And so, it just happened to be just one thing after another, after another, after another, after another. And the blessing was, when I got back to work, I continued to get these suicidal subject calls, one after another. After it was the craziest thing. And I don't get them often, but it just so happened these following weeks I was getting them and getting them. And I was able to resonate with these people and talk with them. And when I talked with them, I wasn't just another cop trying to talk them off the ledge. Like, they felt what I was talking, and they knew I understand what they were saying. And so I knew I was truly helping people,
Yeah.
and which then led me into naming my, all that kind of fell into the Instagram thing and me posting the raw stuff. And I didn't hold back. I put out on the internet everything that I was thinking, everything I was feeling, everything I was going through, everything.
Yeah.
And it felt good for me because it was a form of therapy. And most of the stuff that I put out there, I don't preach to people. I'm preaching to myself. I put that out there for me.
Yeah. The question after you tell them that entire thing is, what does it mean to not give up on yourself?
Man. So there's kind of two parts to that, right? Like, I take that as, it means that there is beautiful life that you are going to experience.
Yeah.
There is so many amazing things that I would have never been a part of. And every day I see them, and I'm thankful that I am. And I mean, I don't even, I can't even explain the magnitude of the things that I've missed, that I would have missed out on.
Hmm.
And my kid's only 10. Uh, just don't give up.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's just this, everything is just too magnificent to just let go to waste.
There's purpose in this world.
100%.
And there's no coincidences. Everything happens with a reason.
Wholeheartedly.
Whether or not it's the darkest of darks or the brightest days.
One of the things that, so I went through some therapy session over the phone. It was like your aura, why you feel this way shit. And as I'm going through this stuff, um, he brought up some childhood trauma, things that I didn't even realize I was holding on to. But I remember him saying that, you went through that for a reason.
Yeah. Life happens for you. It doesn't happen to you. No victim
And I
mindset.
and I'm thinking, in the beginning, I'm thinking, this motherfucker has no idea what he's talking about. How dare he say that to me? I'm thinking in my head, like, well, who does this guy think he is?
Yeah. It feels like there's no empathy at all.
And he said, God put you in that place to go through all that when you were run over by the car, to show you how strong you are for when your kid got sick, so you could be there for your wife and your son. I was
Bingo.
like,
There you go.
holy shit, dude. I was like, wow, that's powerful.
I mean, your story is living testimony to why I do this podcast. It's about overcoming the adversity that we face in our life to understand that there's something better out there. And whether it's tied into hunting of like, well, hunting transformed my life personally. Like, and I'm not just saying that, but like, it was the first time in my life that I chose myself. So that's why hunting is so incredibly powerful for me. I chose myself and I challenged fears and I overcame those fears. And then I realized, like, kind of like Kevin McAllister in the movie Home Alone. Hey, I'm not afraid anymore. Like, I'm not afraid anymore. Like, and that, and it sounds silly. Like, I'm not a kid when I'm doing this. I was in my 30s, and I'm overcoming these fears and realizing that the duality of nature is what makes it so beautiful. And it sucks at when you're in the darkness, but when you're in the darkness, it makes those bright sunny moments that much more magnificent.
100%. You know, I so when I got back to work, I needed to do something to prove to myself that I was worth it, that I was worthy,
Mhm.
that I was not just some broken down bum. And so, and this was right after my clavicle issue. I remember getting back to work a month later. I went back to work a month later. I shouldn't have, but I did. And I remember surfing the internet and I was trying to find something, anything that I can do physical, because I'm big into physical challenges. I want to push. Sometimes I feel like I'm torturing myself, but I like to push myself beyond the scope of things that I normally do, right?
I wanna know what hard is.
Yes, 100%.
Like, yeah.
So I would do things like there was a 1,000 push-up challenge for a charity. I'm like, I bet I could do that in under an hour. And I just got done eating dinner and I saw it, and it was some friends of mine that were doing it, some acquaintances. And she's like, "You just ate dinner." I go, "Yeah, but I better do it now or I'll never do it." So I go out in the driveway. It's like 98 degrees outside. I just ate a huge steak dinner, and here I am, just pounding out push-ups, and I like to a point where I don't even know where my mind's at. My arms aren't barely working, but I'm going
Yeah.
like two at a time, two at a time, two at a time, two at a time, and I end up getting them done in like 58 minutes and 49 seconds, like just under the hour. I knocked them out, right?
Yeah.
But I needed something that was going to just wreck me, that I could prove to myself that I could do,
Mhm.
right? So I found the tactical games. And in the video, it just looked like, okay, cool. I get to pull some weight sleds, shoot some guns. I'm going to go do this and see how well I do. I'm probably going to kill this, right? I got this.
Mhm.
I show up there day one, and I learned quickly that it is national shooting champions, 4-time CrossFit world athletes. Like the chicks that are there are bigger than I am, and I'm like, what in the fuck did I get myself into? And
You're
so,
out of your element.
and I'll never forget the first stage. I finished the first stage. It was like a 4 mile run through like these hilly cornfields in Iowa, and I'm like, I'm gassed out. And I'm looking at the stages to come for the one day, and this is a 2 day competition. And I thought, there's no way. There's no freaking way. I almost just died in stage one. I got 2 more days of this. So I call my wife. I'll never forget the phone call. I call her. I said, "Hey, you know what? I overplayed my hand. I don't belong here. I can't keep going. There's no way I could do this." And she goes, "You're right. You should just come home." Which is not like her.
Yeah.
She's super supportive. And I'm like, "Wait,
That
what?"
that was her way of calling you a little bitch and being like, "Hey,
It
man, you
was.
better stop."
So she finishes it and she says, "You can come home. And in a few days, when you look back at this, are you going to think, why did I quit? I should have never quit."
Yeah.
And I go, "All right, I'll see you when I get done with this stupid competition." And you know what? I fought. I had pieced together equipment. These guys are all packed out. I was a mess. I
Mhm.
was an absolute. I did not belong there.
Yeah.
Um, and I just remember every stage. I think the second stage was a 2 gun, but it had some sled pulls and some running and some other stuff. And I just remember I didn't even make it. I made it like 2/3 through the stage, and I got timed out. And I'm like, what the fuck? So the next stage I go to, it's 10 rope climbs, 10 sled drags, uh, like just nonsense, round after round after round after round after round after round. And I'm like, I'm gonna fucking die out here. Like I'm not. There's just no way. I don't belong here.
Yeah.
And by the end, this was the end of day one, and was that rope climb one, and it was like an AMRAP thing with massive sandbags and all kind of other shit that went along with it. And I just remember I gave it every, like, I'm telling you, when I give it every ounce of energy I had, I gave everything that was in the tank and then some. And I remember but I didn't finish it. I was one, so you had to earn your magazine by doing work. So basically, these sled drags, rope climbs, and sandbags in order to earn a magazine to go shoot your targets. You need to do that for 10 rounds. And I made it through like 7 rounds. I didn't get to my 10th round, but I remember when the buzzer went off, I collapsed. They put me in the back of the ambulance. They pumped me full of all these vitamins and IVs and shit. And I went back and I was like, all right, you got to get me out of here. He's like, what? I said, I got another stage starting in 5 minutes. She goes, you're not going to do another stage. She goes, yeah, you're going to die. I go, I'm not going to give up on this. I'm not going to quit. I'm not leaving here until I finish this. I don't care if you have to carry me out of here on a stretcher. I'm going to finish this. I started this. I'm going to finish it. And she's like, well, here's another, I don't know if it's like the LMNT salt packs
Hmm.
in another water. She shook it up. She hands it to me. She's like, good luck. So like basically like you're on your own.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny is not only did I finish that last stage, but I beat 3 people in the stage. And there's like 6 or 8 on the line. So I was like, yo, I was so pumped, dude. I needed that.
Yeah.
I needed that.
Need
I
to
needed that
stack a
for
win.
every amount in my soul that I went and I competed at a level that I shouldn't have. And I wasn't in a, I think I was like third from last, right? In the whole weekend. But I never quit. I never gave up.
Yeah.
And I needed that.
Hmm.
And that from there on, you know, things just took off for me.
It just goes to show that when you don't give up on yourself, you don't check out in life. Like, just all you got to do is just do the next right thing,
Yeah.
the next step, the next decision, the next, like that guy who you told the story of who called you and he's like, yeah, you saved my life. You didn't save his life. He saved his own life by making the phone call.
Yeah.
He reached out. He took the step. It's his ownership, right? Like
Yeah.
he
100%.
and that instantly is the next step that led to a next step that led to. And so how does all this tie into the Soul Seekers podcast and it being hunting related and all this? Is that hard is not that hard. It's just how much are you willing to put in to get what you want in this life?
Yeah. 100%.
Like how bad do you want that bull elk?
Yep.
How bad do you want that mule deer? How bad do you want that doll sheep, or that maybe it's that simple first coyote coming into a predator call? Like how bad do you want it? And then what are you willing to sacrifice to get there? Right?
I think that's the biggest part of it all. What are you willing to give up?
Yeah. This last year in 2024, man, I forgot what year it was for a second there. I made a commitment, and this is the first time I've ever done this in my entire life. I'm 41 years old, and I made the decision that I was going to work out every single day of the entire year. And, in January or in December, leading into January, like, oh, yeah, dude, I can do this. But then you start looking, and it's like, okay, well, I'm going to go hunting in the mountains, or I'm going to be on vacations on a cruise ship, or, and all of a sudden, like, these excuses start to roll in.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, well, so how do I navigate that? And I always was told in my leadership trainings that I've spent a lot of time in was you don't ever worry about the how. You only worry about the what. And what is it that you want? And when you want it bad enough, the how takes care of itself.
Correct. Yeah, yeah, I've never heard anything like that. But yeah.
So tying it back into why it's so important to have, the community aspect of it is I was 6 months in. It was Memorial Day weekend. Took my family camping down to a little town in Texas. And 2 days after this, I was about to go on my very first backcountry hunt. And I'm, I'm 5 months in, been doing a workout every single day. Now, this I did choose a workout that was travelable, so it was 100 burpees a day, which like a burpee intimidates a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm going to do 100, and because I can take it with me wherever I went. And we're sitting there. It was 98 degrees at night in Texas. Humidity's kicking in. All I want to do. My kids finally went to bed, and all I want to do is just hang out with my wife. And she said, "You've gone this far, and you're going to give up now?" And I looked at her, and I was like, oh, "Doggone it, you're right." I go, "Why would I quit on myself?" And so I got down on this campground in my swimsuit because I was all, like if I'm going to sweat, I might as well get sweating something that, I can wash the
Yeah.
next day. And I do my burpees one at a time. And the hardest one is always the first one. It was that mental decision to say, I'm going to actually put my hands on the ground and go through this process. It wasn't like, yeah, the first couple weeks, my quads would get super tight, my stomach would cramp. But then after a while, I was like, dude, the burpees weren't hard. It was the head game to actually get into the position. And the next day, I I'm having breakfast with my family, and someone from a different campsite walks up. He goes, "What were you doing last night?" I was like, "Well, I committed to myself that I was going to work out every single day of this year, and that was me making sure that I got it done before I put my head down to sleep." He goes, "Wow. Like why?" I was like, "Cuz I want to show to myself that I'm worth it." And this guy, gentleman, was sitting in his chair, drinking a beer, like, doing what you want to do when you're camping. There's no
Yeah.
judgment in that. But he felt a lot of guilt and a lot of accountability, and he ended up transforming his life over the next 3 months
Wow.
simply because of me being consistent in my own life and not giving up on myself. And
That's
the
incredible.
and the point of the story is exactly what you shared, is when we don't quit on ourselves, the whole world's watching. We just don't know it. The whole world's
You never know
watching,
who's there. You never know who's there.
right? And so when we keep showing up and we keep doing what we know we need to do, even if it's to prove it for ourselves, get after it, stay after it, and enjoy the ride. It's gonna suck at times, right?
Agreed. Yep. One of the guys that competes, he's actually won the national championship in the tactical games in the division I compete in. So he was outside getting his truck together the day I arrived at the hotel. And I'm eating my dinner, which was a mountain house
hmm
the night before, because I spent my last $5 getting there in fuel.
Yeah.
So I didn't have any money to go out and eat. I didn't have nothing. So I'm sitting on my tailgate in a mountain house because I had some left over from the elk season the previous year. And so he comes up, he goes, "Mountain house? What? Why would you eat that?" He goes, "That's terrible." And I go, "They're not bad." And he's like, "I don't understand why." I said, "It's all right." I said, "I don't mind it." Say, okay, nothing more. So then he sat down. We talked for a couple hours. He kind of gave me some pointers before the weekend got started, before I knew I was getting myself into. But I remember that was another thing. I came off the first stage and I passed him. He's like, "How's it going, man? Going good?" And I'm like, I think I'm done, dude. I think I'm gonna go home. And I could just see. Now I didn't know to what extent this guy was involved in this sport. I
Hmm.
just knew that he was there to compete. I didn't know that he won the national championship. I didn't know that he's taken first place in my division a million times. I didn't know to what extent. And the disappointment on his face was like, I'm like, motherfucker. So fast forward, he's posting online about some things, some struggles he went through. He got a bad injury and he was down. He had to miss a season or something like that. And he was putting it online. And, I just could tell he was going through it. So I just shot him a message. And I said, brother, I just want to tell you thank you. Here's what we talking about. I said, you were so inviting. You sat with me, you talked with me. You didn't know that I was in one of the worst spots that I've ever been in my life and what
Yeah.
I'd been through. And I said, the reason I was eating that Mountain House, I said, I hope this rings a bell. I was eating Mountain House outside the hotel. The reason I was eating that is because I didn't have any money. It's all I had to eat. I said, I was growing sweet corn and cucumbers in my garden. I packed my cooler full of vegetables and corn because it's all I had. And the only protein I can get was from the mountain houses that I had in the basement to keep me fueled for the weekend. And I said, and I remember after I was going to quit because I had nothing left, I said, now, mind you, I was just released back to work from learning how to walk again. And I'm competing in this when I was told I'd never run again.
Right.
I said,
Let's not forget
I,
that.
I just run 4 miles and I'm ready to come home because I'm destroyed.
Yeah.
And the look on the face, that look on your face of disappointment when I said I was going home, I'll never forget it. And I ended up finishing the weekend. I never went home. I never quit. And I made it through all stages. I said, and it's because you have such a high expectation for yourself that you, without knowing, gave me the look of disappointment, like, oh, you quitter. And so I stuck with it. And because of you, that's why I compete now. And he's like, damn, dude, that was powerful. He goes, thanks, man. I go, you never know who's watching, man. I said, you do a lot of good things. Don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah.
And so you're right, man. No, you never know.
Yeah. Man. Dude, okay, we might have to do a podcast series,
Okay.
because there's a lot of stuff in here that resonates with humanity, right? And this podcast is a hunting podcast, but it's a self-improvement podcast. It's a better life podcast.
Yeah.
It's about how do we inspire ourselves while inspiring the world, right? I always say on this episode of this podcast, you can never outgive good, right?
Yeah.
When you are just putting good out into the world, when you just keep giving good, keep giving good, keep good giving good, it'll naturally boomerang back. And we don't give good because we want the return. We give good because we know it's out there and it's worth it.
Yeah. 100%.
Man, you're inspiring me, and I just want to let you know that inspired people inspire people. When you live a life that's inspired,
Thank you.
it naturally resonates. And I hope the listeners of this episode like really like pull something out of it and be like, okay, when they're on that elk hunt, when they're climbing that mountain and they don't want to go that extra mile, or they don't want to drop down into that hellhole of a dark timber draw or whatever it is, be like, then why am I here? If I'm not gonna get it, if I'm not gonna get after it, if I'm not gonna shoot and be my best and sharpen my saw and be the most tip of the spear possible in my own life, then what am I doing? And that's not a call to give up.
Yeah. What pushes me when I'm on the mountain and I see a bad canyon or I see something, I think, I don't want to go down there. And then I think to myself, of course I don't. And neither did the 10 hunters before me, which is why they didn't tag out. So I guess I'm going down there.
Yes.
I always tell myself that. And hey, sometimes it works out.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
usually hell getting out, but it usually, I at least will have an encounter or find a nice honey hole or something.
Yeah. I'm inspired by you, brother. I'm really grateful. I don't believe in coincidences, so the timing of this episode is very poetic in life, and I thank you for being willing to be vulnerable enough to share your story.
Yeah,
Powerful.
absolutely. Thank you. I'm honored that you had me.
Yeah. Um, how can I bless you? How can I support you on your journey?
Share your story the
Okay.
way you are. Continue. That's all I don't want anything. I don't want anything from anybody. I don't need anything. I'm happy and I want those who are struggling to know that there are others out there and that there are ways to handle it and they are capable of handling it. They just have to know that.
Yeah. Um, to finally wrap up on something, this doesn't have to be quick because you said share your story. The biggest thing for me that's helped in my life is we already talked about this inner dialogue, right? That we have with ourselves. You know, you sit quietly in the woods or whatever it might be. When that dialogue gets out of our heads and into our mouth and tongue and comes out of our mouth, that has been single-handedly the most impactful thing in my life, that I
Wow.
can do to save my own life
I'll have to give that a try.
is to speak, right? Like you were saying, on that eighth rep, you're like, oh, that's enough, or oh, f this, or it's like I find myself talking to myself, but then it's like, dude, if I'm gonna speak, I need to speak life. If I need to yell out the f bomb, then I'll drop it. But it's like I need to be speaking life, and so my affirmations to myself when I'm running, when I'm walking, when I'm by myself is like I'm a powerful, inspiring, loving leader. I am worthy of love. I am peaceful. I am calm. I am inspiring. I am healthy. I am wealthy. I am rich. I am relatable. I am joyful. I am enough. And these affirmations that becomes like that little engine that could the chugga 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 chugga, like those wheels start turning, and then all of a sudden it's like, dude, you're not even focusing on the next step that you have to do. You're focusing on the next word that you're going to speak, and everything else just becomes background noise. And where you take your brain ends up, you know, really taking your entire life, right? The words we speak become the house we live in.
Well, dude, that's awesome.
So
That's awesome.
I just wanted to share that with you, brother. What are you looking forward to in 2026?
I'm actually looking forward to the tactical games coming up for the next year. My goal in all of this is I'd like to reach a podium spot and qualify for nationals because I feel like that's the next level. And if in life, if we don't have goals and moving towards goals, we're sitting still. And if we're sitting still, we're actually moving backwards,
Yeah.
which is when bad thoughts and bad things happen. So always move forward, always be working towards something. Getting the house, getting married, having kids is not the end goal. That is just a step. So let's not focus on that. And then once we have it, let off the gas. Just
Yeah.
keep going.
Yeah.
And so there's that. And then I'm trying to get my dad a bull elk. Now we've been going at it for 7 years. He's come full draw on a couple bulls. He just can't get it done. And he's 60. He's old. He's like 67 or something like that.
Yeah.
And he pumps them mountains like young kids, man. He gets around. And I at his age, I don't think I'd be doing what he's doing, but he does it. And he's come close, but he just can't get the deal done. Like it's just and the bull I killed last year, it's because he couldn't physically get his body to move any further. And he set up in a spot to sit for the evening. And I said, well, if you go down there in that corner, in that point, it'd probably be the best spot because then elk, they come up here to feed through the state line and they come over here. And he's like, yeah, but this dark timber, he said, I'm okay here. You go ahead and go sit over there. And that bull walked right up on me.
Oh,
I called him in. He was bugling off a ways, and I just letting off a couple soft cow. He come right in, and he came in like a freight train, and I killed him. And I felt terrible. It's the only time I've killed an animal where I felt bad. I
mm,
literally felt disappointed when I should have felt just pure joy for killing this bull elk.
yeah.
And while there was joy, there was a lot of disappointment and sadness because I want nothing more than for him to punch his elk tag
Right.
because he doesn't have many years and he's given me everything I have when it comes to hunting knowledge. I want to be able to give that back to him.
Hmm.
So that's a goal in 2026 for me.
Cool. I can't wait for that to happen.
Yeah.
I want to cheer with you. I want to celebrate when that does. So I love that, brother. Well, guys, if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to leave a comment. Reach out to us at soulseekersnation.com. Hit the contact us page. Reach out to us on social media. Reach out to Derek over at Living with the Beast on Instagram. You know, send him a message of encouragement. Let him know that his story impacted your life. And remember that if you want hunting to last for generations to come, then you got to be the change that you want to see in the world. You get to be an active participant. Conservation is not just dollars and giving in that time. In that sense, it's giving time and love. And there's no greater love than laying down your life for another and offering your time for other people. Hope you guys enjoy this episode. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to all of you. And thanks for following along at Soul Seekers Nation. For Johnny Mack and Derek Depew, be blessed, freedom on. And as always, stay soulful. If you enjoyed today's podcast and want to support the show, you can always like, share, subscribe, and leave a rating as it helps us share our mission of mentorship is conservation. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of Soul Seekers Nation as we transform lives through primal adventure.